Good day, Junior Techies, and welcome to this video where we will be looking at question 1 of our workbook. Join me. My name is Mr. P. I'm going to be taking you through this question as well as this section, as well as a few others, to help get a better understanding of 1, homeostasis, and 2, the endocrine system in our preparations for our final exams. So now we're looking at a couple of multiple choice questions and how we approach these when it comes to our exams. So the first thing to have a look at here is that we need to know how to approach these because we will be getting multiple choice questions in both of our papers at the end of the year, paper 1 and paper 2. Although the topics we're writing on are different, we will be getting at least 10 of these multiple choice questions in each of those papers. And considering that they're 2 marks each, this does make up quite a substantial number of marks, and we want to take full advantage of that. So approaching these questions is very important. If we approach them in the right way, we can guarantee full credit for question 1.1. So let's have a look at question 1 in the workbook. Looking here, we're only writing down our selected option for each of the questions, and that's going to be from options A to D. So we're not going to be rewriting the answer because we won't be receiving marks for that, so we need to make sure we follow the instructions in the question. So here we're looking at options A, B, C, or D, and we're only going to be writing those letters down. So let's have a look quickly at question 1.1. We'll do a question analysis quickly. Which one of the following hormones, so here we're looking for an option that has a hormone and one that controls metabolic rate. Now, if we have studied our theory, we will pick up right away that option A is thyroxine, and thyroxine is one of the hormones that has direct impact on metabolic rate. So, but before we select option A without reading the other options, it is also important for us to eliminate the options that we know are not going to be possible. So I know that thyroxine is going to be the answer I'm selecting here, but I'm going to go to the other options anyway. We're going to look at testosterone, aldosterone, and ADH. And we know that testosterone is the testes. It is a hormone, but it has a role to play in male development and the development of secondary sexual characteristics in males. Aldosterone, secreted by the adrenal glands, and that has a role to play in the balance of sodium in the body. And ADH has a role to play in osmoregulation, so water balance within the body as well. So there we can be definite, or we can be confident with our selection A for question 1.1. If we move to question 1.2, here it talks about a hormone that was extracted from a gland of an adult mongoose. Now, the context here is quite strange, something unique, so let's not let that confuse us. Because here we're still talking about a hormone, and it was extracted from an adult mongoose, and it was given to a younger mongoose. So here we're talking about development, all right? Because we've got the adult, it's more developed, young mongoose, less developed, but we're looking at a hormone. We're going to refer to the effects of a specific hormone here. And the context we get given is that under the influence of this hormone, this young mongoose started to develop physically faster than the others that are of the same age. Now we talk about the gland. So we're talking about a gland that secretes a hormone that will allow an individual to develop physically faster than another organism or another animal of the same age. So let's have a look at our options. We have option A, the adrenal gland. Now we know that's aldosterone and adrenaline. Okay, does that have a direct impact on development physically faster? I don't believe so. If we look at the thyroid gland, here we talk about thyroxine, and we know thyroxine is impacting on metabolic rate, but not only that, development of skeletal muscle and bone as well. Pituitary gland, there are a number of hormones that are involved in the pituitary gland over there, mostly related to female reproduction, but also a definite possibility in what we may choose, but we can't be sure of the hormone that's been extracted from this gland. So we need to keep that in mind as well. And when we look at the gallbladder, is this really a gland, or is this just an organ that is used to store bile? All right, so we've got some context to our options. Now we can start to analyze our options. So we know definitely D, gallbladder, it's not probable that that's going to be our answer, so we're going to eliminate that one. We look at the others. In terms of developing physically faster, aldosterone and adrenaline, not so much. Adrenaline maybe in our performance, but in terms of development, I wouldn't go the route of the adrenal gland. If we look at thyroxine and the number of different hormones the pituitary gland may produce or secrete, I'd say we're probably going to be choosing between options B and C here, okay, because we know that it's definitely not the gallbladder. So if we had to sort of contrast or debate with ourselves which one of these options to choose, the pituitary gland, because it produces a number of different hormones, we cannot really be sure which one. So I would hedge my bet on option B here, because we know that thyroxine impacts on metabolism and also has an effect on the skeletal muscle development as well as bone development. So I would go with developing physically faster. I would choose option B over the other three that were provided for us over there. So we're looking at the thyroid gland because we're looking at the extraction of thyroxine as the possible hormone that's referred to in this investigation. Right, let's have a look at question 1.3. If we do an analysis of this question quickly, we see here that we are looking at the effects of the secretion of different hormones, and we get given four options here. An increase in blood glucose level, an increase in heart rate, an increase in the amount of digestive enzyme activity, and an increase in blood flow to skeletal muscles. Now, if those are the effects of the secretion of a specific hormone, we need to have a look at the combination of these options that we've just been provided as being the result of the production secretion of adrenaline as our hormone. Now, that's where our analysis is going to happen. We're going to look at adrenaline for a second. What do we know about adrenaline? That adrenaline is involved in a fight or flight response where it increases cellular respiration and it will also increase heart rate and breathing rate. In this case, keeping that in mind, let's look back at the options that we were provided with first. An increase in blood glucose would mean an increase in cellular respiration that we can expect over there. An increase in heart rate as well for the supply of oxygen for this increased cellular respiration, as well as increase in breathing rate. And if we look at option 3, an increase in the amount of digestive enzymes. Now, adrenaline, in my opinion, would probably have the opposite effect to that, because we're not really looking at rest and digest. We're not really looking at the result of being in a calm environment here. We can normally link adrenaline to that whole fight or flight response. So we're looking at all of the effects that would push us more into that direction. So I would probably eliminate option 3 at this point, and then looking at option 4, an increase in blood flow to skeletal muscles. Because of this fight or flight response, I would say that that's also a definite maybe there, because of the cellular respiration. So if we go down to our options here, we can see that there is an option B which combines the effects 1, 2, and 4. So I would be selecting option B here. If we look at question 1.4, a person starts to experience the following symptoms. Symptoms being weight loss, hunger, and a permanent feeling of warmth. An explanation here, we need to now select from options A, B, C, and D. If we look at option A, the person excretes too much growth hormone, I would not say that would lead us to weight loss, so I would exclude option A. If we look at option B, has an overactive thyroid. What does this mean? This means we're probably going to have increased concentrations of thyroxine in the blood. Okay, so there's a possibility, because thyroxine is direct linked to metabolism. And if we look at the symptoms, I would say that would definitely be brought on by an increased metabolism. But let's look at our other options as well. Option C, that this is a diabetic that's just taken in insulin. I don't think that we could link that directly to those symptoms. And if we look at option D, has an underactive hypothalamus. Now, what would this mean? This would mean that there would be less thyroid stimulating hormone and therefore less thyroxine from the thyroid gland. This would have the opposite impact to option B. So I would say in this case, we're definitely looking at option B as the answer to question 1.4. So it's so important to do the correct question analysis before you select your options here. Let's move on to question 1.5. This is the last question in our multiple choice section for this video. So let's have a look here. The system of the body that is responsible for secreting hormones directly into the blood. Now that's an important point to remember. We're looking at directly into the blood, and we know that the first option, an exocrine system, would be duct glands or glands that secrete their secretions into ducts first, not directly into the blood. So we know it's not option A. The hormone system, well, that's not something we would be referring to. Option C, the endocrine system, these are glands that secrete directly into the blood, and then the nervous system is not really a glandular hormonal chemical messenger system. So we're left with option C, and that's the option that we are going to choose. Right, Junior Techies, I hope that this video has helped us look at multiple choice questions differently and how to approach these so that we can be sure of our answers that we put down on paper at the end of the day to maximize our performance for our final exams. Thank you for joining me in this video. Make sure that you get your hands on the theory booklet, the worksheet, as well as the worksheet memo to practice questions like these and prepare properly for the end of the exams to make sure that we do as well as possible. Thanks again, Junior Techies. Hopefully I'm going to see you again soon.